I'm an anesthesiologist with years of experience. My job is to temporarily remove a person's consciousness and bring it back. So believe me, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Many people who have experienced clinical death reported that their soul could not proceed because something or someone prevented them, explaining that they had not yet gained the necessary experience on Earth. These stories now take on new meaning and scientific validation.
Macrobiotics isn't a diet. It's a technology for tuning the frequency of consciousness itself. You already sense this, don't you, that something underneath the surface of reality is organized, structured, almost deliberately encoded. Michio Kushi walked into the United States Congress in 1999 and said exactly that. Consciousness organizes matter. And then, with a precision that should disturb you, the entire apparatus of institutional science made sure you never heard his name again. There is a pattern running underneath civilization. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It moves through every tradition that has ever tried to tell you something true about reality, through Taoism, through Vedic cosmology, through the mystery schools of Egypt and Greece, and yes, through the clinical research halls of late 20th century America. The pattern is always the same. Consciousness is not a passenger in the body. Consciousness is the architect. Michio Kushi understood this. He didn't just understand it philosophically, the way academics hedge their claims into irrelevance. He built a working framework around it. He named the mechanism. He brought it before Congress. And the silence that followed was not accidental. That silence was a choice made by institutions that had already decided what reality was allowed to be. We are going to decode that silence together. And I need you to stay with me through this entire thing, because this is not a wellness story. This is not about brown rice and miso soup. This is about the fundamental question of what is generating your experience right now, in this moment, and who benefits from you, never asking it clearly. Here is the thread we are pulling. The observer creates the observed. That claim is not mysticism. Quantum mechanics arrived at it mathematically. Ancient Taoism encoded it structurally. And Kushi built a practical daily technology around it that a sitting Congress heard and then buried. The suppression mechanism, the specific institutional move that erased this from the public record, that gets revealed at minute 14. Stay there. What you learn there reframes everything before and after it. The ancient and the modern are not in disagreement. They never were. The disagreement was manufactured, and you are about to see exactly how. Let's name the layer we are standing on right now. The yin-yang symbol is not a decoration. It is not a vague philosophical gesture toward balance. It is a precise technical diagram of how energy moves through reality, a polarity map so accurate that modern physics keeps arriving at its conclusions independently and then failing to credit the source. Expansion and contraction, charge and discharge, the centrifugal and the centripetal. These are not poetic ideas. These are the operating conditions of everything that exists. Classical Taoism didn't stumble onto this by accident. The Taoist framework, developed across millennia and codified in texts like the Tao Te Ching and the I Ching, describes reality as a dynamic interplay between two complementary forces that are never truly separate. Yin contracts, consolidates, draws inward, moves toward density. Yang expands, radiates, moves outward, moves toward frequency. And here is the key that most people miss entirely. Neither force is superior. Neither is the destination. The movement between them is the thing. The oscillation itself is life. So what does this have to do with consciousness? Everything. That is the answer. Everything. Michio Kushi's framework, and let's be precise, because precision is what separates this from vague spirituality. Kushi's macrobiotic framework is not primarily about food. Food is the entry point, because food is the most immediate, most daily way that human beings interact with the yin-yang polarity in physical form. But the deeper claim, the claim that Kushi brought into that congressional hearing room in 1999, is that consciousness modulates QI directly. That the quality of your awareness, its coherence, its frequency, its orientation, physically reorganizes the energetic structure of your body and, by extension, your material reality. Qi, in this framework, is not a metaphor. It is the medium through which the yin-yang oscillation expresses itself in living systems, and consciousness is not floating above that medium, observing it from a safe distance. Consciousness is operating it, tuning it, the way a hand tunes a dial. Now let's ground this in history, because abstract claims need weight. After the Second World War, Japan underwent one of the most rapid and radical dietary transformations in recorded human history. American occupation brought with it American food culture, refined sugars, white flour, processed fats, animal protein at scales Japan had never consumed. Within a generation, the disease patterns shifted dramatically. Rates of conditions that had been historically rare in Japan, certain cancers, cardiovascular disease, metabolic disorders, began to climb in direct correlation with the dietary shift. Kushi documented this. He tracked it. He drew the line between what a population was eating, how that food altered the yin-yang balance of the body's energetic field, and what diseases then manifested in the physical tissue. This is not correlation dressed up as causation. This is a mechanism. The mechanism is this. When you consistently push the body's energetic polarity into extreme imbalance, flooding it with either highly contractive or highly expansive inputs, you disrupt the oscillation that keeps the system coherent. And an incoherent system gets sick, not as punishment, as physics. Kushi called this macrobiotics, from the Greek makros, meaning large or great, and bios, meaning life, the great life. The life that is understood in its full energetic context, not reduced to its biochemical parts. And the dietary recommendations that flow from this framework, the whole grains, the fermented foods, the seasonal vegetables, the reduction of extreme yin and extreme yang inputs. These are not arbitrary wellness preferences. They are calibration instructions for a biological instrument that is, at its core, a consciousness processing device. Actually, no. Let me say that again, because that phrase matters. Your body is a consciousness processing device, not a machine that happens to have consciousness riding along inside it. Not a meat computer generating the illusion of awareness as a byproduct of neurochemistry. A device that is structured, at every level from the cellular to the systemic, to receive, process, and express consciousness. The yin-yang polarity is the operating code. Qi is the signal. And you, the aware presence reading this information right now, are the operator. Kushi told Congress this in plain language. He said that the food choices of a civilization are not merely a public health issue, they are a consciousness issue. That a population eating in deep yin-yang imbalance is a population whose capacity for clear perception, for coherent awareness, for genuine self-governance, is being systematically degraded. He said this in a federal hearing room, with documentation, with decades of clinical observation behind him. And then the conversation moved on, as if he had said nothing at all. That is not an accident, and we are going to look directly at why. But here's what they don't tell you, and this is the piece that opens the next layer entirely. The yin-yang code is not just a map of the body's energy. It is a map of how the body receives and transmits information from a field that is larger than the body itself. The body isn't just running the program. The body is the transmission device, the antenna, the instrument through which something much larger is speaking. And that deeper layer is exactly where we are going next. Matter isn't solid. It never was. What you call physical reality, the chair beneath you, the walls around you, the body you inhabit, is vibration that has slowed down so dramatically it appears to have stopped. Stagnated vibration. Frozen frequency. The ancient traditions knew this. Modern physics confirmed it. And the gap between those two moments of knowing is the story of everything that got buried in between. Here is the layer we are entering now. The quantum layer, the place where the rules of the visible world stop applying and something stranger and far more empowering begins. Ask yourself this. If matter is mostly empty space, if electrons are probability clouds rather than fixed objects, if the atom is 99.9% void, then what exactly are you holding on to when you say reality is solid? What are you defending when you insist the material world is all there is? The answer is a story. A very old, very effective story that evolution built into your perception system to keep you alive, not to show you truth, to keep you surviving long enough to reproduce. Donald Hoffman at the University of California, Irvine, spent decades building a formal mathematical case for this. His conclusion was precise and radical. The interface you call reality, shapes, distances, colors, objects, is a user interface. It is not a window onto what exists. It is a desktop icon. A symbol that evolution designed to hide the underlying computation, because seeing the computation directly would slow you down and get you eaten. Hoffman called this the interface theory of perception. And what it means is devastating in the best possible way. It means you have never seen reality, You have seen a simplified cartoon of it, optimized for survival, not truth. Robert Lanza pushed this even further. Lanza, one of the most cited scientists alive, a pioneer in regenerative medicine, proposed biocentrism. The argument is elegant, and it is ruthless. Space and time are not containers that exist independently, and then get filled with matter and life. They are outputs. They are generated by observer networks. Consciousness does not arise inside the universe. The universe arises inside consciousness. Life is not an accident that happened in space. Space is a structure that life produces. This is not philosophy. Lanza grounds it in the mathematics of quantum mechanics. And quantum mechanics has one experiment that makes the point so cleanly it should have ended the debate decades ago. The double-slit experiment. You fire particles, electrons, photons, at a barrier with two slits. When no one is measuring which slit the particle passes through, it behaves like a wave. It goes through both slits simultaneously, creates an interference pattern, spreads across possibility. Then you add a detector. You simply observe which slit it uses, and the wave collapses. The particle picks one path. The interference pattern disappears. The act of observation changes what the particle does. Let that land for a moment. The particle does not change because you interfered with it physically. It changes because it was watched. Consciousness, attention, collapsed possibility into actuality. This is not metaphor. This is documented laboratory physics, and it means the observer is not separate from the experiment. The observer is the experiment. Now here is the decode move. Matter isn't the foundation of reality. Matter is what happens when vibration stagnates and observation crystallizes possibility into form. The physical world is downstream of consciousness, always was. The mystics said it in every language available to them. The Vedic tradition called the material world Maya, not illusion in the sense of fake, but illusion in the sense of projected appearance. The Taoists spoke of the 10,000 things arising from the One. The Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, is a statement about nested observer fields generating nested realities. These were not poetic guesses, they were maps. Michio Kushi understood this. He was mapping the energetic structure of the human body against quantum field theory, long before the mainstream vocabulary existed to receive it. He was saying that what you eat, how you breathe, how you orient your attention, these are not lifestyle choices. They are quantum acts. They are decisions about which possibilities you are collapsing into form. He was saying the body is a coherence device, a consciousness-focusing instrument that participates in the generation of reality itself. And here is the civilizational example that makes this concrete. Every major traditional medical system on Earth, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, Tibetan medicine, the healing traditions of indigenous cultures across 6 continents, placed consciousness at the center of health. Not as a nice idea, as a mechanism. They built entire pharmacopoeias, dietary systems, meditative technologies, around the premise that the observer field of the patient was the primary variable in healing. And then, Western industrial medicine arrived, declared that only matter was real, and systematically dismantled those traditions as superstition. Not because the evidence was weak, because the economic model required that consciousness be irrelevant. Because if the observer generates reality, the observer doesn't need a factory to be whole. What Kushi knew, and what he was teaching in Boston in the 1970s and 80s, was that the bridge between quantum physics and ancient medicine was not a gap to be crossed. It was a door that had already been opened. He just refused to pretend it was closed, and the laboratories are now confirming it, slowly, quietly, without giving credit where credit is due. But what they still haven't told you, what the confirmation stops just short of naming, is the internal architecture. The specific energetic structure inside the human body that acts as the consciousness-to-matter translation system. The mechanism by which you, the observer, actually tune the field. That is where we are going next. Inside you, right now, there are 3 fires burning. Not metaphor, not poetry. A functional energetic architecture that every major contemplative tradition on Earth independently mapped, named, and built an entire civilization of practice around. The Taoists called them the 3 Dantian. The Vedic tradition called them the primary chakra centers. Tibetan Buddhism gave them precise visualization coordinates. And Michio Kushi, drawing from the macrobiotic synthesis of East Asian medicine, described the same 3-tier system in terms of energy transformation. the movement from dense biological energy upward into refined consciousness. This is the layer where the map becomes a practice. The lowest fire is Jing, root energy, biological vitality, the energy stored in the lower abdomen, in the kidneys, in the reproductive system. Jing is your raw material, your constitutional fuel. In Chinese medicine, it is the densest form of life energy, inherited from your ancestors, replenished through food and rest, depleted by stress and excess. This is the earth frequency, grounded, slow, foundational. The middle fire is Qi, the transformer. Qi lives in the chest, in the solar plexus, in the breath. It is the energy that circulates, through the meridians, through the blood, through every system that keeps you in motion and in relationship with your environment. Qi is the bridge energy. It receives the raw fuel of Jing and begins refining it upward. And the highest fire is Shen, spirit light. The energy of the upper center, the mind, the crown, the field of awareness itself. Shen is what the Vedic tradition called the causal body. It is the frequency at which consciousness operates as pure information, unencumbered by biological noise. So here is the question the traditions are actually asking. What if illness, confusion, and disconnection are not random misfortunes? What if they are the predictable result of blockage in the transformation sequence, Jing failing to refine into Qi, Qi failing to rise into Shen? And the answer is yes, that is exactly what they are. This is the mechanism. Jing depleted by poor nutrition, by chemical food, by the kind of eating Kushi spent 50 years documenting, cannot generate sufficient Qi. Qi blocked by shallow breathing, by chronic stress, by electromagnetic noise, cannot ascend into Shen. And Shen suppressed by distraction, by the relentless horizontal pull of a culture that never asks you to look inward, cannot perform its primary function, which is to orient the entire system toward coherence. The decode move is this. Jing, Qi, and Shen are not mystical decorations. They are a transformation map, a conversion sequence from dense matter energy to refined consciousness energy. And every genuine spiritual practice on earth, everyone, is a technology for facilitating that conversion. Breath is the primary instrument of Q cultivation. Silence is the medium in which Shen becomes audible. Diet is the soil in which Jing either flourishes or starves. Kushi's meditation teaching was specific about this. He taught what he called the experience of nothingness, not as a spiritual achievement reserved for monks, but as a daily reset technology. The practice of sitting in stillness, releasing identification with thought, allowing awareness to return to its source. He framed it in terms that were simultaneously ancient and clinical. When you stop generating the noise of mental commentary, the field reorganizes, the Shen clarifies. And from that clarity, the entire system recalibrates downward. Qi flows with less resistance, Jing replenishes more efficiently. The highest fire regulates the lower fires by virtue of its stillness. This is why Vedic tradition placed the guru, the one who has stabilized Shen, at the center of the healing community. Not for hierarchy, for frequency. A stabilized consciousness field has a measurable organizing effect on the fields around it. This is not superstition. This is what Lanza's biocentrism implies when it says observer networks generate the structure of reality. A coherent observer network generates a more coherent reality. Kushi built communities around this principle. Macrobiotic communities, healing centers, teaching lineages, places where food, breath, silence, and conscious relationship were practiced together as a unified system of frequency tuning. Not a diet, a civilization model, and it worked. Documented cases, terminal diagnoses reversed, chronic conditions resolved. Not because of magic, because the transformation map was being followed in the right direction. Now here is where the story turns. Because something happened to that work. Something happened to Kushi's reach, to his credibility, to the institutions that should have been studying what he was demonstrating. And understanding what happened, and why it had to happen, is the piece that makes everything else make sense. That is exactly where we are going. Here is what shifts when you actually receive this. You stop being a victim of matter's rules. You stop waiting for the external world to rearrange itself before you feel whole. You understand that Qi mastery, through what you eat, how you breathe, where you place your attention, is not self-help. It is sovereignty. It is participation in the generation of reality itself. Your experience of this matters. Drop it in the comments. What you are noticing, what is opening, what is resisting. Your insights consistently add layers to my understanding, and they add to the field we are building here together. If you want to go deeper, this channel continues the initiation. Sacred geometry, the neurochemistry of mystical states, the architecture of what the traditions were actually transmitting. The yin-yang is not a symbol you wear, it is a living technology.